stumbles through the field. She can't see, though she tries. Should I want her better? Now she stumbles. Now she cries. Her skin's red and it burns, and the feels go on for months. Life sucks you dry. She wonders why. Wonders why.
Hosting some kind of gathering of top advisors this evening to talk about how to respond to the Epstein situation.
I don't know. I could ask you that question. I don't know of it, but I think here's the man right here.
Mr. President, I know you've urged people to move on, but I'm curious, why do you think your supporters in particular have been so interested in the Epstein story and so upset about how it's been handled? Why do you think that is?
So the different things, the Steele dossier, which was all fake, all that information was fake. But I don't understand why the Jeffrey Epstein case would be of interest to anybody. It's pretty boring stuff. It's sordid, but it's boring. And I don't understand why it keeps going. I think really only pretty bad people, including fake news, want to keep something like that going. But credible information, let them give it. Anything that's credible, I would say, let them have it.
Jeffrey Epstein was your neighbour. I would be remiss if I didn't ask you about him. East 71st Street. He was your neighbour for 10 years. How well did you know him?
All right, so we are in number 11, and he lives in number 9.
Right.
So we renovate, we buy our house, and our house is pigeons and mice.
Right.
Okay, that's it. It was derelict.
Right.
So we rebuild our house. We move in 2005. Okay. Jeffrey Epstein is arrested in like 08, I think, or something like that.
Right.
So knock on the door. His assistant on like a Saturday says, Mr. Epstein, your neighbor would like to invite you over for coffee. So my wife and I go next door. We walk the 7 steps,
Yes.
right, to the next house for coffee. We share a wall.
Right.
Right. So it's in New York City. So he invites us in. We have coffee in this, and he says, "Do you want a tour?" We said, "Great." He's
Interesting.
got a really big house.
Every room you went into?
He's got. Well, I'll tell you. So his house is like super big, really wide, and so he gives me a tour in the living room, big living room, and then across from it is double doors. I assume it's the dining room.
Yeah.
And he opens the door, and there's a massage table in the middle of the room.
Ooh.
And candles all around and stuff. So I ask very insightful, cutting questions. I say to him, massage table in the middle of your house? How often do you have a massage? And he says, every day. And then he gets weirdly close to me. And he says, weird and the right kind of massage. And he says, weird and the right. Then my wife is standing here. Then my wife. So she looks at me. And I look at her. She looks at me. And we say, I'm sorry. We have to go. I'm sorry. And we left. I'm sorry. And in the 6 or 8 steps it takes to get from his house to my house, my wife and I decide that I will never be in the room with that disgusting person ever again. So I was never in the room with him. Social, never in the room with him for business, social, or even philanthropy. That guy was there. I wasn't going because that guy was there. I was going. And so I look back as a gift.
Yes.
He gave me a gift of voice. So that's my story. A one. That's my story.
Why did the Epstein files show you coordinating the meeting and planning the visit with Jeffrey Epstein on his private island in December 2000?
Thank you for the question. I'm glad to be here to make it clear that I met Jeffrey Epstein when I moved to a house next door to him in New York. And I met him then. Over the next 14 years, I met him 2 other times that I can recall. 2 times. That is none for 6 years. So 6 years later, I met him. And then a year and a half after that, I met him, and never again. Probably the total. And you've seen all of these documents, of these millions and millions of documents. There may be 10 emails connecting me with him. Probably about 10 emails connecting me with him over a 14-year period. I did not have any relationship with him. I barely had anything to do with that person. Okay?
Secretary Letnick, I think you understand the root of concern here. It's the way you described very emphatically your first encounter with him in his apartment. Said you were disgusted, would never have any contact with him again. Did you, in fact, make the visit to Jeffrey Epstein's private island?
I did have lunch with him as I was on a boat going across on a family vacation. My wife was with me, as were my 4 children and nannies. I had another couple they were there as well with their children. And we had lunch on the island. That is true, for an hour. And we left with all of my children, with my nannies and my wife, all together. We were on family vacation. We were not apart. To suggest there was anything untoward about that in 2012, I don't recall why we did it, but
Mr. Secretary, again, as I said, there's not an indication that you yourself engaged in any wrongdoing with Jeffrey Epstein. It's the fact that you believe that you misled the country and the Congress based on your earlier statements, suggesting that you cut off all contact when in fact you had not. When you visited the private island, did you see anything inappropriate during that visit?
The only thing I saw with my wife and my children and the other couple and their children was staff who worked for Mr. Epstein on that island.
And you realize that, this visit took place after he'd been convicted, right? I mean, you made a very big point of saying that you sensed that this was a bad person in 2005. And then, of course, in 2008, he was convicted of soliciting prostitution of a minor. And yet you went and had this trip and other interactions. Did you have a dinner in Epstein's New York City home in 2011?
No.
So the information that suggests that there was a dinner with Woody Allen and Woody Allen's spouse at the Epstein residence, there's nothing to that. Is that right?
I actually don't know what you're referring to. There was, look, I looked through the millions of documents for my name, just like everybody else. And what I found was there was a document that says that I had a meeting with him in May, I think, for an hour at 5 o'clock.
Okay.
Not dinner or otherwise, for an hour at 5 o'clock.
All right. There's also a reference to the fact that Epstein had expressed an interest in meeting your nanny. Do you know whether Jeffrey Epstein ever met with your nanny?
No, I saw that. I had no idea what that was about. It had nothing to do with me.
No
as far as
interaction
I
at
know.
all with him on there?
No, as far as I know, no.
Would you, Mr. Secretary, be willing to ensure that the file is complete to share with this committee and the Congress your own records, any records you have that relate to Jeffrey Epstein?
I will surely talk about that. I hadn't thought about that. I have nothing to hide. Absolutely nothing.
Right. So, I mean, that's an incredible story that you could pick up that he was a pervert.
It's gross. The guy's gross. Right with my wife. He's gross. The guy's gross. This was not, the deep nuance of Howard Lutnick. This guy's gross.
Right. So how come Bill Gates and all these other people could hang around him and not see what you saw? Or did they see it and ignore it? Or
No, they participated.
right.
That's what his MO was, get a massage. And what happened in that massage room, I assume was on video. This guy was the greatest blackmailer ever. Blackmailed people. That's how he had money.
So what happened to those videos? Why is there now such a dearth of information when, Donald Trump's people are running the FBI and the DOJ?
I assume way back when,
Mm-hmm.
they traded those videos in exchange for him getting that 18-month sentence, which allowed him to have visits and be out of jail. I mean, he's a serial sex offender. How could he get 18 months and be able to go to his office during the day and have visitors and stuff? It must have been a trade. So my assumption, I have no knowledge, but my assumption is there was a trade for the videos because there were people on those videos.
And have you talked to Donald Trump about this and shared your theory?
No, I mean, he knows the story.
Right.
But
you-
my story that, I was one and done with the guy. He knows that story, but that's it.
He would have been interested in that story.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's a story. It's just a one and done. That guy. Ugh.
And did Trump feel the same way about him?
I don't speak to him about these kind of, these are just distractions. You know, the thing about the president is I'm doing the most important thing that I see. And then right after we do that, he does 10 other things that are as, if not more important, that are not my thing.
Right.
And you're like, wow. And he is great at it. And sometimes he lets me stay. So like, he lets me stay for the Joint Chiefs of Staff coming in.
Right.
Like, this is like the coolest thing ever.
You sit here and you attack the president, and I am not going to have it. I'm not going to put up with it. You know, all they want to do, all the American people need to know this. They are talking about Epstein today. This has been around since the Obama administration. This administration released over 3 million pages of documents, over 3 million. And Donald Trump signed that law to release all of those documents. He is the most transparent president in the nation's history. And none of them asked Merrick Garland over the last 4 years one word about Jeffrey Epstein. How ironic is that? You know why? Because Donald Trump, the Dow right now is over. The Dow is over $50,000. I don't know why you're laughing. You're a great stock trader, as I hear, Raskin. The Dow is over 50,000 right now. The S&P at almost 7,000. And the NASDAQ smashing records. Americans' 401ks and retirement savings are booming. That's what we should be talking about. We should be talking about making Americans safe. We should be talking about, what does a Dow have to do with anything? That's what they just asked. Are you kidding?
Mr. Jordan, Mr. Jordan.
Committee will be in order.
Secretary Lutnick today was testifying on the Hill. He said that he had visited Epstein's Island in 2012 with his wife and children. And that's after he said that he had cut ties with Epstein. And Justice Department documents show that he was in contact with Epstein through 2018 over messages. So does the White House stand behind Secretary Lutnick right now? Or given what he has said today, has there been any shift in how the White House is viewing Secretary Lutnick's performance?
No, Secretary Lutnick remains a very important member of President Trump's team, and the president fully supports the secretary.
Welcome back to Through Glass Darkly Live. You're listening to us on YouTube, Facebook. I didn't intend to have us on Facebook. I was going to put it on Twitter, but then X wasn't really helping me grow at all. So I just canceled premium, but I started using Super Grok. So instead of paying $8 a month, they're getting $30 a month. But Super Grok is actually valuable. It actually has really good animation tools. So, unfortunately, not streaming to Twitter or X anymore. However, and I don't even know why I'm streaming to Facebook because nobody ever watches there. But for the first time ever, I have a Kick account, so I'm streaming to Kick. Who knows where that's going to go? I don't even know if the intro song, if I didn't mention it, was Mark of the Doomslayer by Carl Casey at White Bat Audio. I just figured I'd throw that in there. All right, so lots of stuff I got done in the past week. So before we start kind of going back and covering more of the files, because I think last time we went through all this release, to my knowledge, there hasn't been any new things in the release, but we didn't kind of go through everything. We kind of skimmed what we could. But what was I going to say? So in terms of stuff that I've kind of gotten done this week, I have these new nature walk segments. I don't know how people think of them, but I kind of posted about 6 of them. So that'll just come in the morning at 9 a.m. If you like it, let me know. If you don't like it, also let me know. Just be respectful about it. And we're just going to see how that format works. Viewership is kind of a little bit off this month. I don't know why, but I had a really good episode, like 2 really good episodes with Hakeem Isler, and those are like, the first one did badly and the second one did even worse. It had it's unheard of if I get like less than 5 or fewer than 500 views on an interview, and especially since I tend to get more on live streams. I get like over 1,000 views on live streams for whatever reason, because I would like to think my guests are the attraction. So we'll see how that goes. But let's see. Yeah, I know I'll be replaying that thing for a while, but fuck Lucknick. Fuck that guy. That guy's a piece of shit. So I'm just going to keep playing it. Anyway. I had my first community guidelines violation on TikTok. I am not finding mushrooms. Don't quite know why, but I can tell you what the video is. The video is posits the theory that TWA Flight 800 was shot down by a directed energy weapon accidentally, and which is probably the case, because they were probably testing it at Brookhaven National Lab, and the fact that it was considered misinformation means that that's probably what happened. So that's anytime like an official government or something or other takes down a video because of misinformation, that means it's true, as far as I'm concerned. So anyway, and the thing is, I just immediately appeal it. I don't care what happened. Like, if I lose a TikTok account, I really don't care. I have 4 followers there right now, so absolutely nothing. Let's see. Yep. Yeah, probably was. Yeah, it's a great episode. They're both great episodes. They're fascinating, but nobody's watching them. I don't know why. It's driving me nuts. It's absolutely driving me nuts. So anyway, I got a ton of stuff done. I also, like I said, started a Kick account, so I'm experimenting with that, and we'll see. Yeah, what kids? That's the other question. His kids? Who are his kids? Are they his genetic kids, or are they somebody else's? Oh, nice. Thank you for the... Yeah, I'm going to, like I said, I'll probably do 30 of them, and if they don't... The first one didn't do great. The second one did a little bit better, but not... I mean, I gotta give it time. But if I get less than or fewer than 500 views, the thing didn't perform that well. And right now, the first one's it's around close to 160, which is not good at all. And then the second one's, over 200. But it just came out this morning. So, I mean, the trend is there, but it's also a completely different format. So people are kind of like, what the hell is this? And the content on some of them is just not that. I think the second one that came out probably has the best content, or at least paranormal content. The others, I'm not so sure, but we'll see how it goes, and then deal with that. Yeah, I'm just going to continue to just throw as much content up as I can. So for folks who are just listening, Mermaid Moxie is saying, don't let it drive you nuts. They could be squashing your views, playing mind games with you. Yeah. And then here's another weird thing. I was invited to an event in Washington, D.C. for, related to disclosure. So I'm not, and, still deciding whether or not I should go to that, because it could be fraught in any number of ways. But we'll see. I won't say anything more because it's not I don't want to say anything. Well, yeah, I've been to soul events, so like I definitely know who I am, but yeah, I probably have enough subscribers to be on the radar. Am I trying to achieve status or just spread awareness? I'm definitely not trying to achieve status. In fact, I am not a fame seeker. That would be very awkward. I wouldn't even say spread awareness. I would say two things. And just to be completely honest, one, to get to the truth. Actually, three things. One, to get through the truth. Two, I love to create, and this is an opportunity to create. And three, I would love to make a living doing this. So there's a monetary interest. And if I didn't tell you that, I would be lying to your face, right? So, but that money interest is just enough to kind of not have to have a day job and support my family. So that's kind of, I'm not trying to be famous. In fact, it was a little awkward for me to go on the Julian Dory because I'm like, why do you want to talk to me? I don't understand why you want to talk to me. But, oh, I'm definitely, yeah, yeah. Maybe not. They're definitely, that's 100%. Baseline, that's 100% what it is. They want to control what the narrative is. And what do I gain by going? I gain kind of, what do they talk about? And then what don't they talk about? And what don't they talk about is the place you need to focus. And depending on what your results were, yeah, maybe. Yeah. I've had friends who were also, a friend who was also invited, and he talked to some people who are, let's say, intuitive, and they're like, I don't have don't have good vibes about it. So, yeah, and spiritual ascension, that doesn't I can make money in many ways, right? Part of it is the show, but I'd also like to be able to make money through other creative outlets like my writing, which I haven't, not even remotely close, recently. Yeah, I doubt Stephen Greer would this is like Congress people and Senate stuff. It's not, so I don't, yeah, I appreciate that. And I am remunerated for it, which boggles my mind. But again, I just have to stack a lot of different things. So do I trust Jeremy Corbell? No. I just don't. I mean, I don't, that's not to suggest that he's lying. It's just to suggest that whatever they're feeding him, it's narrative based. Yeah. Well, it's not my vibes are I should go, but yeah, we will definitely see how that goes. So anyway, I think without further ado, I'm trying to think what other stuff I should tell you all about. So I made good progress on this fourth collection, which won't come out until next July. What else? I'm going to do some other testing with Claude for just just stuff that you don't see, but just workflow improvements, so that stuff that's not that important I can automate, and stuff that is important I could spend more time on. Let's see. Well, I mean, you got to eat. You got to eat. I mean, it's not worth starving. Let's see. Yeah, we'll see. My sense is there will probably be a presidential speech right around the Roswell anniversary, right? So Roswell was, I think, July 8th. So they're probably just kind of seeding the narrative before that happens, whatever that event will be. So Corbell, his ears aren't human ears. He kind of does look like Ellen DeGeneres with a beard. Who knows? Who knows with put off? So Jalay Jalas is saying, from my perspective, I think Sean missed the camaraderie of his hosting all of us to sit around the campfire. His eyes are way too far apart. Yeah, maybe. All right, let me set this thing up so that, let's see, where is it? All right. Okay. Hold on. He was a Scientologist, and then he stopped being a Scientologist and became Catholic. So he's a Catholic. Yeah, remind me who Gordon White was. I think I saw that. He was an occultist, was he? Because I know. Okay. All right. Anyway, while we're waiting for that, let's see if we can. It looked like there were some videos in here, but I couldn't. I didn't have time to like check. Okay. I don't know. These aren't really. All right, here we go. All right. This is a little bit better. All right, what are we looking at here? This tiny little. I mean, these are like Pong videos. I mean, like, really? That could literally be a bird. All right. So anyway, they're saying Central Command submitted a report of a UAP consisting of 24 seconds from infrared sensor aboard a U.S. military platform in 2023. Okay. Small and circular, flying near the surface of the ocean toward land. Okay. All right. Well, that's fantastic. This is good because last week we did not look at video. All right, so let's go to the next one. This just looks like a photo of a UAP. Let's see what this says. Okay, so this is like an arrow thing. It's not been provided. So the monochrome large display of background with a dense speckle pattern and central crosshair reticle. Dark circular object is located at the bottom quadrant. This is the thing they're talking about. All right, this is it does nothing for me. Could literally be anything. All right, so we go to the next one. It's another FBI photo. What this little dot? Okay. So the monochrome, grainy texture with a central crosshair reticle, small dark circuit, visual in the upper right quadrant right here. All right, great. What do you want, a cookie? I mean, all right, we just did that one. We did that one. That looks like a helicopter, but okay. Monochrome, grainy texture with the central crosshair, the dark object consistent appearance with the helicopter is visible in the upper right quadrant. A second smaller dark circular object is visible beneath the reticle. Okay, so he's talking about this tiny thing. All right, that's fantastic. I don't know why it keeps resetting me. All right, so we saw that. And saw that. This is not great either. Okay. So a grainy texture with a central crosshair. Two small, dark, elongated objects are visible near the center of the frame, the lower left quadrant. So this here. Okay, it could be some. It could be some Marine's ball sack as he's coming out of a parachute. Though it has a date, so it looks like sometime in 1999. So that's pretty old. All right, again, it keeps resetting us. All right, let's see what this is. Obviously not a picture, but it's a composite sketch. So actual site photo with FBI lab rendered graphic overlay depicting corroborating witness reports from September 2023 of an apparent ellipsoid bronze metallic object materializing out of a bright light in the sky, 130 to 95 feet in length and disappearing instantaneously. You know, it's coming out of a portal, maybe. All right, well, whatever that's worth. Again. Well, let's see what this is. Oh, this is like a triangle formation here. All right, so as part of the review of historical UAP materials under Pursue, Dow, Department of War, has opened a case to investigate the accompanied NASA photo from the Apollo 17 mission taken December 1972. The image contains 3 dots in a triangular formation in the lower right quadrant of the lunar sky that is clearly visible upon magnification of the image. While this photo has been previously released and discussed by keen observers, there is no consensus about the nature of the anomaly. New preliminary U.S. government knowledge suggests the image features potentially the result of a physical object in the scene. Additionally, it's part of the investigation. The government has obtained the original film from the Apollo 17 mission, and the result of the full NASA and Dow analysis will be released when completed. Well, that's interesting. But again, it's like Pong. We're looking at Pong. You know, for people who grew up in the 80s, the Atari system on the game Pong. All right, what is this? Yet another photo. Oh, it's not a photo, it's a video. Oh, that was weird. Just slow. Yeah, there you go. That's interesting. See it? Like down at the bottom? All right, well, let's see. So it's from the U.S. Central Command. So it's from an infrared sensor about a U.S. military platform in 2022. So described as a possible missile moving across the field of view. The report also described 4 other objects not depicted in the video as possible birds. Okay, the video depicts an area of contrast moving. Okay, this video description is... Yeah, I mean, sure, it could be a missile. Who knows? That's why these videos aren't very good. Like, they're deliberately, given the systems that we have, they're kind of, what is this? United Arab Emirates, another video. Okay, let's see what this guy is. So we're like slewing the sensor. I don't really see anything. Unless it's this. Yeah, it's like Pong. Who the hell knows what that is? Oh, that was weird. All right, so again, U.S. Central Command. All right, so an area generally within the top left quarter of the display. Sensor pans from right to left, causing the area of contrast to pass through the center of the display. The sensor then pans left to right, causing the area of contrast. Okay. Yeah, who knows what that was? All right. Okay, there we go. Tiny little thing down there. This is like some Pong shit again. Okay, so it kind of stopped. It's just like hovering. Still this dot down there. This thing's like 2 minutes, like about 3 minutes long, so bear with it. It's got it caught on this thing. Yeah, who knows what this thing's doing. Might just disappear? Guess so. 20 seconds more. All right. And that's all for that one. All right, let's see what this one is. So this is, again, it's in Greece, October 2023. I just see this tiny thing down there. Yeah, I think we saw this one already. I'm not going to waste time on it again. All right, what's this one? So this is the Middle East in 2013. It's a minute 47 of footage. Oh, this is the parachute harness one? Who the hell knows what that is? I think this is one of the more interesting ones that people have talked about. Heck is it doing? So this is somewhere in the Middle East. And there it goes. Again, like, these aren't the greatest videos. I mean, that literally could have been anything. All right, this looks a little bit more interesting. So let's see. Unresolved UAP report. All right, go to 12 seconds here. So before I hit play, let's see what this is. So it doesn't really tell us. So I guess it was taken in January 1st, 2025. Oh, this is AFRICOM, United States Africa Command. Wonder where this is. I'm sorry, but I didn't see shit. The small area of contrast moves from the left side of the sensor field of view to the right side, accessing the bottom right corner of the screen. Okay? Let's go back and try that again. I don't see anything. Maybe I'm just retarded. Let's just do it closer now. Yeah, I don't see anything on this one. Whatever. I'm not going to belabor it and waste everybody's time. All right, let's see what this one is. All right, so this is Air Force. All right, so it's 58 seconds from an infrared sensor aboard a U.S. military platform in 2020. Okay. Let's see. All right, I guess that's. They're just locked on a pong ball. And they're going to have to do better than this. Oh, all right, that was weird. Oops. Just go, jump to the point. The hell is that? All right, that was weird. If I only knew how to get out of that. All right, back to the salt mines here. I think I skipped over it. All right, all right. Here we go. I didn't realize I could do it full screen, folks. Sorry. So this is 9 seconds. How was that? All right, before I do that, I should actually read what the thing is. I'm not going to play it again, but all right. So this is the Indo-Pacific Command. Okay, so 2024. Okay, just weird. All right, this is Department of the Army 2026. Okay, so okay, infrared sensor did not. Okay. All right, let's just see what this is. Oh, well, that's pretty obvious. How come they didn't show this one? This is weird. I don't know what to make of that. Okay. It's just an FBI photo, it looks like. Okay. All right. The FBI ones are the worst. They're like no good. They're never any good. All right. Again, it's an FBI photo. Not going to waste time. Another FBI photo. Not going to waste time. Oh, we already did all these. Good Lord. Okay. FBI photo. Not going to waste any time. All right. I think we've gone full circle. We've gone full circle with all these. That's why. Okay. All right. I'm just going to jump back and just take a look at comments. And there are lots of comments. I'll add that back when we go back to it. There's a lot of comments. Sweet. Jesus. Okay. All right. From one religion to another. Oh, he's going places. SMH. He was a writer, chaos magician, and podcaster. Okay. Yeah, I think I saw what you're talking about. I wasn't aware of him too much, but after Peter Carroll died, it's like it's odd that a bunch of them were. All right, good day, Sean. Was chatting with Alan Levine again. I had meant to link to you if you're possible. He's down. Or should. All right, yeah. Let me know who Alan Levine. I don't even know who he is. Yeah, it could literally be anything. Directed energy weapons when it comes to TWA Flight 800. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that about car issues. I don't know. I think they're going to do the beings thing. They have to, otherwise people aren't going to be happy. Okay. Sorry, I'm just trying to catch up, folks. Hey, Spider Bite. All right, so this is a video equivalent of when they included the FBI tip line in the. Yeah, exactly. This 3i Atlas powered by an alternative energy source in there by the hush hush of the whole. Who knows? Clap on, clap off 6. I find one showing up in your living room a lot more interesting. Some of these pics could even be ours. Maybe. And lies, real talk, but Lyle found back in 2020, Chinese businessman Guo Wongyi during a live stream said today it's called coronavirus, tomorrow it could be called hantavirus. Yeah, the government's not showing us good stuff. Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of these like videos about ticks dropping from helicopters. Who the hell knows? Yeah, too late. I kept zooming in and out. I'm sure other people saw it, so. Yeah, exactly. The haunted narrative is just COVID 2.0. Yeah, basically, they're saying it's all been captured by U.S. military craft. Okay, if they can bilocate, they don't really need a ship. Interesting. All right, let's see. Let me see if there's for a second. All right, let's go to the next. How are we doing on Kick? Ha! I have like one viewer there. Fantastic. One viewer, no followers. Well, Rome was not built in a day. All right, let's get back into this. All right, bear with me. I'm just moving all these windows around. Yeah, we know all this stuff. Okay. Let's see. The FBI ones, I'm not gonna. Department of State 52. What's that all about? Oh, this is interesting. All right. So Paul Nitz asked me what the Air Force thought about the flying saucers, and I expect the others would be interested. I recommend, therefore, that you pass on the gist of the attached at the morning meeting tomorrow. Samford gave it to me at IAC. So this is General Samford, I guess. I have no idea what, if that's probably says the same thing. Okay. So that there is very little that can be said to clarify the flying saucer business. It is still a complete enigma. This is interesting, actually. He did, however, point out that phenomena falling within the general description of flying saucers have actually been known to exist and have been reported one way or another for over 100 years. Ooh, I think we came on, this is solid gold, this one. The increase in observation and reporting and publicity on the subject is probably attributable in the main to vastly improved methods of observation and reporting, including not only radar, but the reporting systems used by civilian and military pilots. It is also attributable in some measure to the publicity which is given it, which takes on certain elements of a fad. There is no question, according to Stanford, that credible observers are reporting the incredible. The radar observations may have elements of electronic fluke, but is sufficiently tied in with pilot observations so that it cannot be attributed entirely to this. The Air Force views the flying saucers as a threat only because they are not understood and they are sufficiently frequent as a phenomena to mean that they will give great attention to them until they understand them. General Samford did not say anything about the possibility that they were man-made or controlled, friend or foe, but the whole implication of his remarks was that this possibility was remote as not to be generally considered, I guess. Well, that was interesting. Okay, so the next one. So 63. All right, so this is Mr. Robert F. Picard, Office of International Scientific Affairs, Department of State. So it's a memorandum for him. Thoughts on the space alien race question? What the fuck? During recent discussions, the question has occasionally, though rarely, arisen that perhaps we should consider the policy question of what to do if an alien intelligence is discovered in space. Some discussion of this occurred, as you will recall, during deliberations on BNSP Task 1. This memo contains some miscellaneous thoughts on the question. The consensus of scientific view says, with quite good reasons, that the possibility of running across an alien intelligent race in our solar system is negligible. This is due primarily to the presumed unsuitability of conditions upon other planets to support life as we know it. The flying saucer advocates claim, of course, that the scientific viewpoint is nonsense, that there is an overwhelming evidence of such beings. In my own mind, I find it difficult to side with the flying saucer advocates. But the almost total impossibility envisioned by most scientists also is disturbing. Therefore, I present the problem in current perspective as I see it. Up until a few decades ago, it seemed very improbable that intelligent life existed anywhere outside the solar system. The chief reasons for this were a combination of scientific theory, scientific knowledge, and religious belief. The most widely accepted scientific theory as to the formation of the solar planetary system held that it was a result of the near collision of two stars. Since such a precise near miss of two stars would be an extremely rare event, it followed that there would be very few other planetary systems in the universe. And indeed, perhaps this was the only one. Religious beliefs said. Furthermore, that life was a gift bestowed by God. This was a relatively undisputed point, since no scientific data existed to bridge the gap between non-living and living materials. The situation today is vastly changed in these respects. The most widely held theory of stellar formation would predict the formation of planetary systems to be a natural consequence of stellar evolution. On this basis, most stars would possess planetary systems, and the number of habitable planets in our galaxy would be tremendous. Our biggest telescopes cannot resolve planets at this distance, even of the nearest stars, so no direct confirmation is yet available. In my own mind, however, the wide prevalence of multiple stars is an overwhelming hint in support of this theory. In addition, the biological sciences have almost completely traced a series of natural occurrences which lead from inanimate molecules to elementary living viruses. Thus, we have the current scientific theory and data not only that there are a huge number of planets in the galaxy, but that life is quite likely to arise spontaneously on a large number of these. This, of course, does not necessarily imply intelligent life. Modern theology is not necessarily incompatible with this description. Genesis of the creation certainly is a better picture of the current theory than of stellar collision, and since God only spent 7 days on this system, he has clearly had lots of time to create many more systems. Even granting a probable existence of much life in the galaxy, there's still the question of whether another intelligent race exists in our solar system. There are, of course, two methods of its establishment in our system. One of these is that it originated on some other planet, for instance, Mars. Some of the spectacular markings on Mars have been interpreted as indicating intelligence, in particular the famous canali, or rather narrow, and have always run from one prominent marking to another, frequently with round splotches at intersections. As far as I know, no one has discovered a canali which goes nowhere. That's interesting. This has quite understandably stimulated much conversation. In fact, a number of decades ago, when scientists thought that any life on other stellar systems was very remote, they seemed to feel that intelligent life probably existed on our other planets. Some of the discussions about life on Mars at the turn of the century seemed to indicate a strong urge to find intelligent life elsewhere. Today, the situation is completely reversed, and although intelligent life is considered quite probable among the stars, it is held to be quite unlikely within the solar system. We seem more eager to listen with Ozma than to look closely at Canali. One school of flying saucer advocates claims that the Martians have been mining our moon for natural resources for some time. At first thought, one would think they would rather mine Earth. It is interesting to speculate, however, upon spaceflight from the point of view of a Martian. The escape speed of Mars is only 16,500 feet per second, and of course, braking speed on our moon is less than 10,000 feet per second. Thus, Martians looking at Earth would tend to view it in the same way as terrestrials look at Jupiter. Our moon might not be less work to get to, since atmospheric braking to Earth is possible. Excuse me, but would be very much easier to return from. While the energy requirements to go to and return from the surface of the Earth might as well be so high as to discourage interest, at least initially. Interestingly enough, even a normal high-energy chemical rocket could make a trip to Mars, from Mars to our moon at favorable times, while carrying almost 10% of its gross weight and payload. Spaceflight starting from Mars, then, is a much easier prospect than starting from Terra. If a suitable refueling base had been painfully established on our moon, the operation could be done quite commendably with merely chemical energy. The aforementioned high-energy chemical rocket could carry at favorable times almost 50% payload back to Mars. Of course, many flying saucers advocates claim that the discovery of both Martian moons within a week in the latter part of the 19th century indicates that they are large artificial space stations. Otherwise, they would have been found earlier. If we were to discover Martians on the moon, it would result in surprisingly little readjustment of our scientific thinking. The biggest question would be why they were there rather than among the asteroids. In fact, if they were not as scientifically sure of ourselves as we are, 3 recent events would be hailed as broad hints of intelligent life on the moon. The one, the discovery of hot gases emanating from the crater of Alphonsus when the moon was supposedly dead. I didn't know that. This would be considered evidence of civilization, and since Alphonsus is close to the visible edge, interpreted to mean that the other side of the moon was teeming with population, which had begun to spill around to this side. 2, the infrared scans which show hot spots. These would be interpreted as indications of cities or at least money. I didn't know there were hot spots on the moon. This is like disclosure hiding in plain sight. I'm surprised I have not heard of this document. It's like nobody looked at it. I'm sure somebody looked at it, but this is the first time I'm hearing or seeing it. Although I skipped it last week, but the fact that no lunar or planetary probe is significant, or 3, the fact that no lunar probe or planetary probe of significance has been successful in spite of major efforts on the part of 2 very successful Earth orbit-faring nations. It would be supposed that someone was denying us deep space. The other side of the moon, pictures from Lunik 3 show no details of consequence. And the same can be said of the data from Mariner 2 compared to what we have already known about Venus from Earth-based measurements. Should the Martians have colonized the moon without discovering nuclear energy, then they represent no real problem, and our current national policy would be made to order for the situation. If all this were true, of course, I would expect the Martians to be scared to death of what they have seen recently on this planet, and would expect that the highest priority development program in the solar system is being conducted by Atomic Energy Commission of Mars. How long is this? Good Lord. Let me just skip ahead really quick. Okay. All right. So even if we are secure in our belief that intelligent life never would develop on Mars or some other solar planet, there's still the question of visitors to the solar system for other stellar systems. This is normally written off as an extremely low probability due to the tremendous distance between stars and the Einstein limitation to travel faster than the speed of light. Therefore, even if there are a large number of intelligent life forms in the galaxy, and even if they are continuously searching for other races, the frequency of investigation of any stellar system would be only once in many thousands of years, and contact would rarely, if ever, be achieved. It might never be achieved, since presumably intelligent races die out. So what happened to the planet whose pieces now are spread around the asteroid belt? Or for that matter, why is Uranus lying on its side? I am not sure that this travel restriction is quite as infallible as it sounds. I believe it is possible with what we now know about nuclear energy to envision ships driven at half to 3/4 of the speed of light. This, since the galaxy is 100,000 light years across, still does not make a search of the entire galaxy feasible within the lifespan of the average man. But suppose some race under pressure, a population explosion, were expanding as fast as technically feasible from star to star throughout the galaxy. If their ships averaged half the speed of light, and if on average they stopped every 10 light years for a 20-year stay at a stellar system to deposit colonists, refuel, and build extra ships, they would only take 200,000 years, starting at the center of the galaxy, to spread throughout the whole system. Since the earliest known remains of man have recently dated approximately 1,700,000 years, a sustained drive for merely 200,000 years might not be unreasonable. Of course, if we were to run across representatives of this kind of interstellar race, they would not be nearly as tame as the previously hypothesized chemical Martians, and our policy would need to be revised accordingly. Fortunately, travel time restrictions would inhibit their ability to bring all forces to bear in case we should develop differences of viewpoint. The third possibility, scientifically abhorrent, is that the Einstein theory may only be an approximation, and an alien race which actually travels faster than light exists. If we were to meet such a race, our policy had better be to negotiate fast, because the implications of their far better understanding and control of fundamental forces of nature would be obvious. If all the scientific speculation were to turn out wrong and we were to stumble across an alien race, We would want to know as quickly as possible which of the three types I have indicated it was, as our diplomatic policy would be damn well influenced by the results. Although plausible scientific thinking suggests that we will not find any other intelligent race, the probability that we will is finite and perhaps should not be completely ignored. Were we to find one, the question of whether it was a race with primitive chemical spaceflight equivalent to our best understanding of nuclear energy, or spaceflight based on physics beyond Einstein should be ascertained as rapidly as possible, since our policies would be affected in the most drastically possible way. In any event, a policy of the immediate burying of the terrestrial hatchets would likely be in order, even if we only found tame chemical Martians or merely the debris from some intergalactic survey mission. It would be a good idea to proceed on the assumption the human race would finally have found a bigger problem than the ones it has created for itself. There is likely nothing to be done at the moment to prepare for the possibility. The only body of writing on the subject available is in an emergency of science fiction, because no one of consequence is going to take this rubbish seriously unless it happens. At that point, our policy will be determined in the traditional matter of grand panic. It's good to see that nothing has changed since 1963. Okay. All right, the FBI stuff, I'm just gonna skip. It's just not. All right, what do we have? Mission report. Did we cover this before? Yeah, we did. There's like nothing here. Stuff's largely garbage. All right, that might be interesting. Email. Let's see what this is. Yeah, we looked at that last week. I think we looked at this last week too. Hold on. Yeah, we looked at this last week. Yep. Iran. Okay. Just a UAP over the Strait of Hormuz, basically. Yeah, we looked at this last week. Yeah, these UAP reports are not that interesting. All right, we have these useless FBI photos. Okay, let's see. All right, let's go to this Apollo 12 transcript. Okay, this is all garbage. Okay, here we go. All right, Roger. Okay. When you go look at the AOT in the dark quadrant, you can see these lights, particles of light, flashes of light just seem to come from, in this case, I'm looking in the quadrant, which is the left one. It's coming from behind me. The left, they're sailing off in space. I was thinking about dropping from my water boiler, but it looks like some of those things are escaping the moon. They really haul out of here and just press off at the stars. Okay, they're just talking about the target. Okay, got sort of an interesting thing going on. AGS right now. I didn't notice it earlier, but it may just be because the lights are brighter now. I'm getting an all-eights flash on both the address and the information registers at about 1/5 the brilliance of normal numbers, and it's pulsing every second. Okay. Okay, Roger Alfredo is here. He and I have both seen that phenomena on your data during testing of most all the spacecrafts up at Bethpage, and it's probably an EMI. All right, that's what we've been talking about, but we thought we'd just touch in on it. Okay. All right. Well, I don't know how interesting that was. All right, so that was Apollo 12. Let's look at Apollo 17. Again, this is all moon stuff. Okay. At least this is highlighted. Now we got a very few bright particles or fragments of something go drifting by as we maneuver. There's a whole bunch of big ones in my window. They're just bright. Looks like the 4th of July out of Ron's window. Yes, now you can see some of them in shape. They're very jagged, angular fragments that are tumbling. They look like fluid of some sort. Not to me. They look like pieces of something. They're very bright. For the most part, these fragments are not, or are tumbling at a very slow rate. I tried to, a couple of pictures of them, different settings. You may get an idea at least the patterns look like. Okay, well, you know, I don't know. There are a number of possibilities. If you had some kind of, I got the impression they were curved a little bit, as if they might be off to the side of SIVB. That's just a wild guess coming off of it. Maybe there's paint coming off of it. Roger, I noticed on one trip up the elevator last week near one of the flags, I thought it was on the S2. That might have been on the S4B. It looks like it was peeling. Maybe that's what you've got. Okay, with the mover complete, the fragment field is essentially static except very slight tumbling within the fragments. Every once in a while, a fragment of considerably higher velocity than the others goes across my window, but that's very rare. Yeah, so hey, that's the review I saw at my window. Jack, do you see it now? Yes. And Bob, at least there's no apparent relative motion between fragments. I'll take 2 pictures about a minute apart by Ken. It'll be frame 70. Okay, frame 70. And Bob, this is Gino. My impression is that they are flat, flake-like particles. Some may be 6 inches across. And although there's no relative motion between the two, most of them seem to be twinkling. And I think for the most part, they're all moving away from us. It's weird. Okay, add today to today. Not last night, but I guess the first night I was in bed, I definitely saw some of these because I had a hard time going to bed. to start with. I saw some of the same peripheral horizon type things you said were not the type of data you were looking for. But I also saw sets in the street, and probably the one most imposing that I remember, the last one I remember before falling asleep, was the fact that there was a very bright spot that flashed right between my eyes, a very bright headlight, like a train coming at you, only with a flash. It's difficult probably to estimate the frequency of any of these things because I was in a sort of sleepy haze mode. But then as today I saw that flash and lit up the horizon, and some that lit up peripherally, and I guess, as you say, there's a different kind of data. But I see them there and they impress me. And it may be interesting to know I've never seen it before today. Okay, when you don't have anything else to do, why don't you have somebody predict where the SIVB is? I think I spotted behind us. Hey, Bob, I'm looking at what Jack was talking about, and it's definitely not a particle that's nearby because there's another one I can look at and get a three-dimensional comparison with. It is a bright object, and it's obviously rotating because it's flashing. It's way out in the distance, as I say, because there are particles that are close by, and it's obviously not one of those. It's apparently rotating in a very rhythmic fashion because the flashes come around almost on time. And it's as if we look back at the Earth, it's up at around 11 o'clock, about, maybe 10 or 12 Earth diameters. I don't know whether that does you any good, but there's something out there. Okay, and I just want to emphasize that it's definitely not one of these particles that tends to look like a star out there. It's something physical in the distance. Oh, yes. Okay, I'm looking looking at it, the center window, the hatch window, and I'll give you a hack when it crosses the x-axis of the center window. And I guess it's up maybe 45 degrees. Let's call it the XZ plane of the spacecraft. One unique thing about it, Bob, is that it's got two flashes as it comes around in rhythmic fashion. You get a very bright flash, and then you get a dull flash. And then it'll come around with a bright flash and then a dull flash. Bob, a couple of revolutions ago, I was looking at it. It had a much brighter view, and I believe I was looking at it broadside. Looks to me like it was maybe flashing more or less end on now. It is much not as bright, although it's getting brighter, but it's not as bright now as it was a while ago. We've been noticing that, I think, for about 24 hours or so. I just hadn't put it together as maybe being the SIVB. I thought it was just some other particle out there. Okay. Hey, Bob, we got two of those flashes out there. They could be SLA panels. I don't know. They're alike in intensity and pretty regular in the intensity, bright and dim flashes they come out with, and then they're definitely separated. One is about the position we called it the first time. The other one is, as I'm looking at the Earth, far to the left, close to the center window now. All right, end of tape. Hey, I just saw a flash on the lunar surface. It was just out there north of Grimaldi, just north of Grimaldi. You might see it if you got anything on your seismometers, although a small impact probably would give a fair amount of visible light. There's a bright little flash out there near that crater. See the crater right at the edge of Grimaldi? Then there's another one north of it, fairly sharp one north of it where there was just a thin streak of light. All right, I keep looking occasionally for it. Yes, we will. I was planning on looking for those kind of things. Starting to see the edge of Oriental Gordy way off to the west. Hey, just yell Gene anytime you. Okay, that was weird. But what does that mean? Who knows? I think we already did the Gemini 7 thing. There's a bunch of them. This is the Gemini audio that I'm just going to click on it briefly just to remind you all.
Gemini Control here again. Earlier in the flight, you'll recall at the start of the second revolution, we had a reference to several objects that the crew spotted. This was in the area of Antigua. Due to a mechanical breakdown, we did not have that portion of the tape available for you. This was a line breakdown between Building 30 and our news center in Building 6. Since then, we have dubbed the tape off the master tape here in the control center, and we are now prepared to play it for you. It contains references to sighting not only some particles, but as well as an unidentified object, plus the booster. Here's that tape. We'll play it for you now.
Gemini 7 here, Houston, out of your 8.
Loud and clear. 7, go ahead.
Bogey at 10 o'clock high.
This is Houston. Say again, 7.
So we have a bogey at 10 o'clock high.
Roger. Gemini 7, is that the booster or is that an actual sighting?
I'm going to play this again for people who weren't here last week.
Say again,
It's just
7.
6 minutes.
So we have several, looks like the 3 up there, actual sighting.
You have any more information, estimated distance or size?
But we also have the booster in sight.
Understand you also have the booster in sight, Roger.
And we have very, very many, looks like hundreds of little particles going by from left out about 3 to 4 miles.
Understand you have many small particles going by on the left. At what distance?
4 miles. Looks like perhaps a vehicle that's disintegrated.
Roger, understand they're about 3 to 4 miles away.
They're past now, they're going to pull a little bit.
Roger, and understand they were about 3 to 4 miles away.
Trying to turn line, or further.
Roger. Gemini 7, Houston, were these particles in addition to the booster and the bogey at 10 o'clock high? Roger.
7, this is, Houston, this is 7.
Go ahead.
I have the booster on my side as a brilliant body of the sun against a black background and with billions of particles around it.
Roger, what direction is it from you?
It's about at my 2 o'clock position.
Does that mean it's ahead of you?
It's affirmative. Ahead of us at 2 o'clock, slowly tumbling.
Roger.
OS 91. Go Fox 91. Go Fox 191 second.
Gemini Control here again. The reference in that conversation to the third unidentified object, of course, the third object was bogey. There were several references to the bogey. This is the unidentified object, in addition to particles which appeared to be headed in a polar orbit, you heard Frank Borman say, plus Jim Lovell discussing the booster. It was Borman who reported sighting the bogey. This is Gemini Control in Houston at 4 hours, 24 minutes into the flight.
All right. What else we got? So that's the audio expert. Technical crew briefing. What's that all about? This is 1969. So this is the third crewed Apollo 11, third crewed mission to the moon. Okay, so this document's going to highlight 3 observations. 1, an object on the way out to the moon. 2, flashes of light inside the cabin. And 3, a sighting on the return trip of a bright light tentatively assumed by the crew to be a laser. Well, let's see what this says. Okay, so this is technical debriefing. Okay. Here we go. So this is Aldrin. The first unusual thing that we saw, I guess, was one day out or something pretty close to the moon. It had a sizable dimension to it. So we put a monocular on it. All right, how did we see this thing? Did we just look out the window and there it was? Yes. And we weren't sure, but what it might be. This is SIVB I keep talking about. We called the ground and we're told that the SIVB was 6,000 miles away. We had a problem with the high gain about that time, didn't we? There was something. We felt a bump, or maybe I imagined it. There, Armstrong said he was wondering whether the mesa had come off. I don't guess we felt anything. Of course, we were seeing all sorts of little objects going by at various dumps, and then we happened to see this one brighter object going by. We couldn't think of anything else. It could be other than the SIVB. We looked at it through the monocular, and it seemed to have a bit of an L shape to it, like an open suitcase. We were at PTC at the time, and each one of us had a chance to look at this, and it certainly seemed to be within our vicinity and of a sizable dimension. We should say that it was right at the limit of the resolution, the resolution of the eye. It was very difficult to tell just what the shape was, and there was no way to tell the size without knowing the range, or the range without knowing the size. So then I got in the lab and started looking for it in the optics. We were grossly misled with the sextant off focus, and what we saw appeared to be a cylinder, or really 2 rings. Aldrin says yes, 2 rings, 2 connected rings. Collins said no, it looked like a hollow cylinder to me. It didn't look like 2 connected rings. You could see this thing tumbling, and when it came around and on, you could look right down in its guts. It was a hollow cylinder, but then you could change the focus on the sextant, and it would be replaced by this open book shape. It was really weird. I guess there's not too much more to say about it other than it wasn't a cylinder. It was during the period when we thought it was a cylinder that we inquired about the SIVB, and we'd almost convinced ourselves that that's what it had to be. But we don't have any more conclusions than that, really. The fact that we didn't see it much past this one time period, we really don't have a conclusion as to what it may have been, how big it was, or how far away it was. It was something that wasn't part of the urine dump. We're pretty sure of that. Skipping ahead a bit, when we jettisoned the LM, lunar module, I'm guessing, we fired an explosive charge and got rid of the docking rings, and the LM went boom. Pieces came off the LM, and it could have been some mylar or something that had somehow come loose from the LM. We thought it could have been a panel, but it didn't appear to have that shape at all. That's right. For some reason, we thought it might have been part of the high-gain antenna. It might have been about the time we had high-gain antenna problems. In the back of my mind, I have some reason to suspect that its origin was from the spacecraft. So Aldrin kind of comes in. The other observation that I made accumulated gradually. I don't know whether I saw it the first night, but I'm sure I saw it the second night. I was trying to go to sleep with all the lights out. I observed what I thought were little flashes inside the cabin, spaced a couple of minutes apart. I didn't think too much about it, other than it could have just been a note in my mind that they continued to be there. I couldn't explain it with my eye. Would see flashes during trans-Earth coast. We had more time, and I devoted more opportunity to investigate what this could have been. It was at this point that I was able to observe on 2 different occasions that instead of observing just one flash, I could see double flashes at points separated by maybe a foot. At other times, I could see a line with no direction of motion, and the only thing that comes to my mind is that this is some sort of penetration. At least that's my guess without much to support it. Some penetration of some object into the spacecraft that causes an emission as it enters the cabin itself. That's weird. Sometimes it was one flash on entering, possibly departing from an entirely different part of the cabin outside the field of view. The double flash appeared to have an entry and then impact on something such as the struts. For a while, I thought it might have been some static electricity because I was also able, in moving my hand up and down the sleep restraint, to generate small sparks of static electricity. What the fuck? But there was a definite difference between the two as I observed it more and more. I tried to correlate this with the direction of the sun. When you put the window shades up there, where there's still a small amount of leakage, you can generally tell within 20 to 30 degrees of the direction of the sun. It seemed as though they were coming from that general direction. However, I really couldn't say if it was near enough evidence to support that these things were observable on the side of the spacecraft where the sun was. A little bit of evidence seemed to support this. I asked the others if they had seen any of these, and until about the last day, they hadn't. So Armstrong says, Buzz, I'd seen some light, but I just always attributed this to sunlight because the window covers leak a little bit of light no matter how tightly secured. The only time I observed it was the last night when we really looked for it. I spent probably an hour carefully watching the inside of the spacecraft, and I probably made 50 significant observations in this period. Sometimes a minute or two would go by, then you'd see the two within the space of 10 seconds. On an average, I'd say, just as a guess, it was maybe something like 1 a minute, certainly more than enough to convince you that this wasn't an optical illusion. It did give you a rather funny feeling to contemplate that something was zapping through the cabin. There wasn't anything we could do about it. It could be something like Buzz suggested, mainly a neutron or some kind of atomic particle that would be in the visible spectrum. Okay, most of the time, okay, let me see. That's weird. So this is Buzz Aldrin again. There was only one minor observation returning from the moon. Looking back at it, at a time after Mars had passed behind the moon, there was one time period where I imagined that the image of Mars was coming from a region where it couldn't come from, because it was in the dark portion of the moon. This obviously was an optical illusion of some sort. Armstrong said, I suspect it was, in fact, just immediately adjacent to the horizon. We must have looked at it immediately after it had come from the backside. Yes. In lunar orbit following ascent, we did note and mention to the ground that approaching CDH when the Earth came up above the lunar horizon, I observed what appeared to be a fairly bright light source, which we tentatively ascribed to a possible laser. That seemed to be the best possible explanation until we were coming back in the command module approaching the Earth, and were able to observe something that gave about the same appearance. When putting the monocular on the light source, it appeared as though it was the reflection of the sun, a relatively smooth body of water such as a lake. What? I think we've revised our initial conclusion as to what the source of that light was that we saw coming from the Earth. If no one owns up to having beamed the laser toward the moon at that time, it was more probably a reflection off a lake. I still think it's an unusual phenomenon at that distance to see so bright a source of light. In the film, it didn't appear as though this was going to show up at all. The Earth was too bright. Okay. A little weird, but nothing conclusive. All right. We got the debriefing. Yeah, lots of debriefings. What's this? That's weird. Why is it in color, though? Oh. It's been modified from the original. All right, let's go back to, 1973 debriefing for science. Okay, so this is Apollo 17. This is the 9th crewed mission to the moon, and the 6th to land astronauts on the lunar surface. Okay, so it's from the crew. So they did an ultraviolet experiment and discussing seeing results that were unexpected. All right, well, let's take a look at it. All right, you see a lot of UV. Okay. Blah, blah, blah. All right, I don't. Who knows? I don't know. I'm sure somebody who's has better scientific literacy than I do would understand that. Wait, what? After the brightness of the fireball decreased, I could look back up through the rendezvous and see what to me was kind of like a tunnel with a bright spot in the middle of the tunnel. Way down the tunnel, way back behind, I could see the fire. The only unit I call the landing recovery is the CMP. The window saw the superstructure of an aircraft carrier and said, oh, we've got a tin can with us. What? Trans-Earth, we only had a small crest over Earth, and it was not feasible to do any. Okay. We had light flashes just about continuously during the whole flight when we were dark adapted. I had one which I thought was a flash on the lunar surface, and that one period of time when we had the blindfolds on our Alpha Med experiment, There were just no visible flashes, although that evening, that night before I went out to sleep, I noticed that I was seeing the light flashes again. So it just seemed to be that one interval either side of it where the light flash was not visible to myself, the other crewman. Okay. Like I said, this is Skylab, first laboratory. Station was visited by three crews. All right, let's take a quick look because we're running low on time. All right, so unusual or unexpected visual phenomena. We saw light flashes, I think. All of us saw them. I saw them most often when I was in the sack at night with my eyes closed but awake naturally. They tended to wax and wane. Someone asked me if this was in conjunction with the South Atlantic anomaly. It may have been. I didn't have the pad with me at the time, and I didn't know. There were numerous times, 2 or 3 a minute. Some of them, to me, were spot or sunbursts. Some were streaks. The streaks, in my case, were less frequent than the bursts. Most of them were okay, very few okay. You could isolate them to one eye, couldn't you? No, I couldn't. See, mine were particularly in the left eye for some reason. Okay. Let's see. Oh, so this is a different one. So they had something rotating around them. Okay, so a rather large red star out the wardroom. It was much brighter than Jupiter and any of the planets. It had a reddish hue to it, even though it was well above the horizon. The light from the sun was not passing close. We observed it for almost 10 minutes. It was slowly rotating because of the variation of brightness with a 10-second period. Okay. As I was saying, we observed for about 10 minutes till we went into darkness. It also followed us in the darkness. And it keeps going. Ammonia odor? Isn't that what people report during abductions? Okay. Okay. Who knows? All right, I'm going to go back. Probably now is as good a time as any other to just have to find the stream. Lost it for a second. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing that for now. And let's just go through remaining comments and then call it a night. So Kick is a live streaming service. Yeah, again, there's like one viewer. All right, people are just talking about. No, he was just as a for instance. Is it Mbop Hansen? Yeah, it was Hansen. You ever heard the band Kula Shaker? I don't know. It does sound familiar. Hey, Swade. I know you probably said that like 20 minutes ago, but oh, during their hit, but that sounds like a whatchamacallit, the Mandela effect, maybe. No, I actually like somebody who's a much better narrator did. I only have one book that is that's on Audible. That's Alien Abattoir and Other Stories. NASA Satan with the T minus. Hey, Sirius, good to see you. Yep. All right, we got 3 minutes. I'm not going to do any more because we'll run out of time. But I wonder if I should do a poll. Hold on. What else am I getting? Okay. Anyway, I think I'm gonna end up going to the event. There's some other guy that has intuition and is not as concerned. So, I mean, it's going to be straight up narrative control, clearly, but we shall see. Anyway, what do folks think of these forest walks? Or these, I mean, like, are they a waste of my time, or like, are people actually enjoying them? Witness Protection 4233. I love the name. That's pretty awesome. That is pretty awesome. All right, we got 1 minute left. I should have had the like and subscribe banner up, but whatever. Oops, what the hell did I just do? All right. Oh, I appreciate that, Alex. I appreciate that. And you can tell me if you don't like them too. Like, I'm just gonna do like 30 of them and then continue. Yeah, some of them are short. Some of them are long. The longest one might be like 30 minutes or something like that. The shortest is probably less than 5. So, you know, we'll see. I have to record some more over the next week, but I'll start recording them again tomorrow, and we'll just see how it goes. Anyway, it's top of the hour. Have a fantastic rest of your weekend. Thanks for tuning in. I hope that was helpful, and we'll see you all next week. We'll probably do more of these next week. It's a pretty, yeah, I definitely was not sweating. I was relaxing. But But yeah, I think there's enough material for us to go through another round next week. So take care, everyone, and see you all next week.
breaking news.
She's dancing in the field, and the sun is in her eyes. Thousands are one in her eyes. So she stumbles through the field. She can't see, though she tries. Should've worn her pennant. Now she stumbles. Now she cries. Her skin's red and it burns, and the fields go on for miles. Life sucks you dry. She wonders why. Wonders why. sun is in her eyes. Thousands are one in her eyes. So she stumbles through the fields. She can't see, though she tries. Should've worn her pennant. Now she stumbles. Now she cries. Her skin's red and it burns, and the fields go on for miles. Life sucks you dry. She wonders why.